8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lal Malvarachi and read by Indrani Senanayake. The headlines. The government will inform the Archbishop on the progress of the investigation of the Easter Sunday attacks. State Minister Ajit Niwad Kabral says that the country cannot afford a further lockdown. Another 3,588 patients have been tested positive today. The Army commander says that the Pfizer vaccine will be given to the relevant persons under the leadership of the Army. The Sri Lanka Navy and the Sri Lanka Police seized over 184 kilograms of Kerala cannabis. In foreign news, US investigates civilian deaths in Kabul attack, and in sports news, Sri Lanka Army promotes Paralympic gold medalist to Warrant Officer number 1. Minister Professor G.L. Piri says that the government will act mutually and respectfully with religious leaders. At a press briefing held in Colombo today, the minister said that the Easter Sunday attack was a very unfortunate incident that took place in our country. The government will inform Archbishop Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit and the Catholic Church on the progress of the investigation, as the government does not intend to protect the perpetrators of the Easter Sunday attacks. The Health Minister says another 3,588 patients have been tested positive today. 14,395 coronavirus patients have recovered and discharged from hospitals and treatment centres within the last 24 hours. This brings Sri Lanka's total recoveries from COVID-19 to 372,000 so far, while 54,340 infected patients are presently under medical care and home-based care. The total number of coronavirus cases recorded in the country is 435,107, while the death toll is 8,775. Another consignment of 124,000 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine purchased by the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation arrived in Sri Lanka today. The consignment has been taken to the Blood Transfusion Centre in Narahenpeta to be stored in special refrigeration facilities. Meanwhile, the Army has been given the full authority to administer the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine under the coronavirus vaccination program. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva says that the Pfizer vaccine will be given to the relevant persons under the leadership of the Army. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. We continue with local news. The Family Health Bureau, FBH, says nearly 75% of pregnant women in the country have been vaccinated against COVID-19. Pregnant women who have yet to be vaccinated can receive their vaccines at the nearest hospital or clinic in their area, said Dr. Chitramal De Silva, director of FBH. She pointed out that a total of 32 pregnant women have died from COVID-19 virus in the country so far. Currently, about 4,200 pregnant women have been diagnosed with COVID-19 in Sri Lanka. Among them, 900 are still receiving medical treatment. Dr. De Silva said she requests pregnant women to remain at home as much as possible. During a joint operation conducted in Mannar recently, the Sri Lanka Navy and the Sri Lanka Police seized over 184 kilograms of Kerala cannabis worth over 55 million rupees and arrested 2 suspects involved in the smuggling. The special operation carried out by the Sri Lanka Navy and the Sri Lanka Police at the Murungan roadblock in Mannar resulted in the seizure of the stock of Kerala cannabis. SLNS Passadeva in the North Central Naval Command and Murungan Police, after searching a suspicious lorry on the road, found about 183 kilograms and 715 grams of Kerala cannabis in 87 packages. The stock of Kerala cannabis has been concealed among pharmaceuticals, cosmetics and hygiene products being transported in the lorry. Next, we take a look at the main news story.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
State Minister Ajit Niwad Kabral says that the country cannot be subjected to a further lockdown as it may severely affect the national economy. About half of the population are daily income earners. In addition, the small and medium-scale entrepreneurs will have to face immense hardships due to lockdowns again. The country loses about 1.5 billion rupees daily owing to the present lockdown. That was the main news story. Watchlight is next.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight. Herbal masks made from 21 local herbal ingredients was presented to the State Minister of Primary Health Care, Epidemics and COVID Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopoulle, by an innovator, Deshabandhu Saman Hettiarachchi, at the Ministry of Health. The mask is patented as a new invention, and the Industrial Technology Institute of Sri Lanka has offered a quality certificate. It has also won the Gold Award at the Sahasak Innovation Competition organised by the Innovation Commission of Sri Lanka and has been selected as the best invention at the Sahasak Production International Competition. Well, that came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news will follow. We take a look at the headlines. US investigates civilian deaths in Kabul strike. Vietnam lockdown adds to global coffee supply concerns. China bans exams for 6-year-old school children. A US drone strike targeting a suicide bomber ended up killing 10 members of one family, including 6 children. Surviving relatives have told the BBC. The 10 were killed when a car parked at their home was struck by an explosion yesterday. The US military said a vehicle carrying at least one person associated with the Afghan branch of the Islamic State group was targeted. It said people nearby may have been hit in the aftermath of the strike. Vietnam has added to concerns over global supplies of coffee as the Southeast Asian country's biggest city remains in lockdown. The exporting hub of Ho Chi Minh has been kept under tough travel restrictions after a surge in the cases of Delta variant of the coronavirus. Vietnam is a major producer of Robusta, the bitter-tasting bean used in instant coffee and some espresso blends. Wholesale Robusta has seen prices risen by about 50% so far this year. China has announced a ban on written exams for 6-year-old and 7-year-olds. It's the latest effort to try and relieve pressure on parents and students in a highly competitive education system. Students used to be required to take exams from the first year of primary school up until a university entrance exam at the age of 18. But the Education Ministry said the pressure is harming the physical and mental health of pupils. To end this bulletin of world news, the headlines again. US investigates civilian deaths in Kabul strike. Vietnam lockdown adds to global coffee supply concerns. And China bans exams for 6-year-old school children. That ends this bulletin of world news. Development news is up next.
Development news is brought to you by Quality Matters Than Price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, #1 in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
On to development news. The Lanka Sugar Company says that the local production of sugar has increased. Chief Executive Officer of the company, Gamini Rasaputra, said they are working together with the Sugarcane Research Institute to introduce high-quality sugarcane varieties. Lanka Sugar Company meets 10% of the local sugar requirement. That was development news. Next, we take a look at sports news.
Development news was brought to you by Quality Matters Than Price. So as an engineer, I recommend Melva RB500. It's made with virgin billets using the latest technology. Melva RB500, #1 in Sri Lanka. Truly Sri Lankan.
Sports news. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has congratulated Dinesh Priyantha Herath, who won the gold medal while establishing a new world record in the javelin throw event at the Tokyo Paralympics. War hero Dinesh Priyanta, who performed his duties during the war to unite the country against separatism, won a bronze medal at the 2016 Paralympics. Accordingly, Dinesh Priyanta has become the first and only sportsman who has won 2 medals at the Paralympics. He has been promoted to Warrant Officer Number 1 from his present sergeant position. The Prime Minister, in his congratulatory message, has pointed out that his victory would encourage the nation amid the pandemic. He has expressed belief that his victory would encourage other sportsmen and women to expose their maximum talents. Indian athletes have put on their best ever performance in the history of Paralympic Games in Tokyo. They have won 5 medals on Monday, including 2 golds, taking the country's tally of medals to 8. Their previous best performance was at the 2016 Rio Games, when the contingent won 4 medals, 2 golds, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Shooter Avani Lekhara created sporting history after becoming the first Indian woman to win a Paralympics gold medal. Well, that was a look at sports news. Next is business news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka's private credit grew 76.6 billion rupees in July 2020, down from 83.4 billion rupees a month earlier, while the central bank credit soared as foreign reserves were appropriated to repay $1 billion sovereign bonds and some other accounts, official data showed. Up to July, private credit has grown 490.6 billion rupees, up from 372.8 billion rupees for the final year in 2020. When imports fell and the economic activity slowed. There was an increase of 8.8 billion rupees in state enterprise credit related to dollar borrowings. That was business news. Economic news is up next.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news. A national policy on financial content will be formulated. The central bank said that the relevant strategies have already been prepared. Steps will be taken in future to include it in the school syllabus. Micro and small and medium-scale financial entrepreneurs are important to the country. Additional Director of the Regional Development Division of the Central Bank, D.L. Nihal, said that the problem is their lack of knowledge about the opportunities in the financial sector. That was economic news. Finally, we take a look at the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
The weather report. The Met Department says showers will occur in the western, Sabaragama, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere. Fairly strong gusty winds up to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected on the western slopes of the Central Hills and in the northern, north central, northwestern and southern provinces and in the Trincomalee district. The sun has been directly over Sri Lanka from the 28th of August and will remain so till the 7th of September. The nearest towns of Sri Lanka over which the sun will be overhead tomorrow noon are Tantirimale, Madavachia and Trincomalee. That was a look at the weather report.
Weather report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. Government will inform the Archbishop of the progress of the investigation of the Easter Sunday attacks. State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral says that the country cannot afford a further lockdown. Another 3,588 patients have been tested positive today. The Army Commander says that the Pfizer vaccine will be given to the relevant persons under the leadership of the Army. The Sri Lanka Navy and the Sri Lanka Police seize over 184 kilograms of Kerala cannabis. In foreign news, US investigates civilian deaths in Kabul. And in sports news, Sri Lanka Army promotes Paralympic gold medalist to warrant officer number 1. That ends tonight's news broadcast. Pearly Whites is smiling at me from the other side. And, of course, what does that mean? It means the MWIS Express will be on its way today too. All our faithful listeners will be able to join us on board and have a great ride until 10 o'clock this evening.